Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are from. And can everybody hear me, first of all? And do you have a picture of the 747-400 on your screen? If you do, give me a 1 in the chat room so I know that somebody is in the room and that you can hear me and you can see the video. Or the screen. Daniel, thank you. Because I never know whether anybody's in here or not. So it's good somebody's in here. I know that anyway. Okay, good. So you can hear me and you can see okay. So that's good. Well, welcome to the announcement today of the FTD PCFS course of training in the 747-400 and the 747-8. If you have not taken the poll that asks you what you are, whether you're a real-world pilot or a virtual pilot, flight simmer, or an aviation enthusiast, if you would complete that poll for me, then I know who my audience is. And I'm going to close that poll in about 10 seconds or so. What we're going to do today is I'm going to play a recorded video on the course and what the course entails and how you can be part of the course. There are a couple of different methods that you can be part of the course. One way is free. The other way is through Patreon. Patreon, there'll be 3 levels of membership, and free it does not require any membership. So I haven't given up on the free videos. If you've watched my videos, you'll know that there's free videos from the last couple of years. And so the live streams that I'm going to be doing will be free, but the difference is they won't be recorded. And there's some perks that you get, some enhancements that you gain by being a Patreon member. So I'm going to go ahead and close that poll now in 3, 2, and 1. And we'll see what the results of that poll is. Surprisingly, the subsonic flight training was meant for, and you'll see that in the video, that it was meant for flight simmers and virtual pilots online, because these models have become pretty sophisticated. And a lot of people, especially flight simmers that are on the VATSIM network and things like that, are pretty serious about their virtual flying. And they usually want to learn more. So I started the Subsonic Flight Training channel for those people. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but surprisingly, I've gotten a lot of real-world pilots that will contact me and say, your videos really helped me prepare for my initial 747 training. And so I will get migrated real-world pilots. Many of them are ATPs with type ratings, and perhaps they're getting ready to go or be a new hire at a airline that has the 747. And so they join in. So obviously we welcome everybody, whether it be an aviation enthusiast who just likes aviation, or a flight simmer. Again, that's the main group this was meant for. And then the real-world pilots, of which surprisingly I get quite a few. So the poll results are real-world pilots, 55%. Flight simmers, virtual pilots, are 33%. And the aviation enthusiast is 11%, and that's out of 9 votes. I don't expect to get a lot of people for this course. It's taken me probably, I think you'll see in the video that I started the channel in 2017. And it's now 2022, so it's 5 years, and I don't quite have 5,000 subscribers. So I'm grateful that I have 5,000 subscribers, but it's grown slowly. And so this course, the same way, I don't expect to have a lot of people in the course, because the course is very specific in who's going to be interested in it. So without further ado, let me cue the video up and we will play the video. I think it's about 37 minutes or so. And then when the video is completed, I'll come back for any questions that you have on the course. And then from there, we will, and then from there, you can go about your day. So let me cue up that video and I'll be right back. Hi everyone, Captain Al speaking with a Subsonic flight training live stream announcement for the 747-400 and the Boeing 747-8. The course that I'll be offering is called the FTD PC FS Training. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Captain Al, recently retired from a 44-year career in aviation. Actually retired almost 2 years ago, if you want to call that recently. COVID actually more or less forced me to retire. And in my career, I've been a flight instructor, charter pilot, regional airline pilot, international flag carrier airline pilot, a captain instructor pilot, check airman FAA examiner. I have over 30,000 hours. 14,000 of those hours are flight hours, and I have over 16,000 hours training and checking in level C and D simulators. I'm type rated on the Boeing 747-400, the Boeing 747-8, the Boeing 787, Boeing 757-67, Airbus A320, and the short 330 and 360. What I do now since the pandemic, since 2020, I guess it would be mid-March, is when was my last day of work. And since then, I've been doing business as Alp Capital. I've been an equities and index option trader for over 20 years. So in 2021, when I saw the handwriting on the wall, I basically established IRS trader tax status and made the mark-to-market election, and am governed by IRS Section 475F as a trading business. So that's kind of what I've been doing since the pandemic occurred. The Subsonic Flight Training YouTube channel has been around since 2017. I designed it for flight simmers, aviation enthusiasts, and pilots, and more or less in that order. The mission statement is basically to increase your knowledge of the 747-400 and the 747-8, and what that does is expand your enjoyment of interacting and understanding a modern airline flight deck, both the procedures and the operation, and it's for the sole purpose of having fun. So today we're introducing a new course that I'm offering. It's called the FTD PC FS Jetstream Training. Jetstream is just another term for live stream. Since we're aviation related, I figured I'd call it Jetstream. So when you see Jetstream, it's the same thing as live stream. The goal of this course is to bring airline level training to the PC flight simulator community, to those who desire this type of training. Not everybody would want it, of course, but some people will want it. And today we're introducing 3 levels of Patreon membership. And those 3 levels will be a first officer level, or FO, a cruise captain level, or CC, and a full captain level, or CA. And it should be emphasized that the live stream or the Jetstream service is free, so you don't have to join Patreon membership to take advantage of the live stream. Anybody can attend the live stream. However, Patreon membership will enhance the experience of the course, and recorded Jetstream videos or live stream videos will be available to Patreon members only. So if you want the free service, you just come to the live stream. If you can't make it to the live stream, then there will be recorded videos if you're a Patreon member. And again, those 3 levels are first officer, cruise captain, or full captain. All 3 levels will include the airline level flight training program, and the perks will increase as the level increases. So what this course is not, this will not be any sort of technical computer assistance on anything to do with a platform like the P3D or the FSX or the FS2000. It's not any sort of technical assistance on any model like the PMDG or the Aerowinks or the iFly or whatever models are out there for the 747. And it's not any sort of technical assistance for computer problems of any kind. And of course, we all have issues with all of these, and we usually seek out people that can help. But I'm not one of those people. So this will be all about training on the 747-400 and the 747-8. Why Patreon? Well, I picked it because it's a membership service that will be a more effective, organized, methodical means of providing an airline-level course syllabus of training for those flight simmers, aviation enthusiasts, or pilots who desire this type of airline pilot training. So who are these 3 categories of people? Well, the first one that it was designed for and that the Subsonic flight training channel was designed for are flight simmers, because it always amazes me how many serious flight simmers are out there. And they like to enjoy airline level simulation. And many of them want and desire more training and understanding of the airplane because many are not pilots. But they are a very knowledgeable and a very devoted group of online virtual pilots that enjoy their simulation or enjoy the VATSIM network. And then the next group would just be plain old aviation enthusiasts. Some folks just want to know more about aviation technically and may be interested in the subject. I can understand that because I always wanted to be an astronaut. I was an astronaut wannabe. And anytime I hear a real astronaut, I gravitate toward these real astronauts who provide courses or knowledge. If there's a press conference on the space station, you can bet that I'm going to go watch it to get a taste of what it would be like to live on the space station. So I'm a space enthusiast. There's other aviation enthusiasts out there that just like it for the joy of liking it. And then the last group are real-world pilots. And this group surprised me the most, and I'm not sure why, but many pilots have provided feedback on my channel that the channel helped them to prepare prior to their 747 airline training course at their specific airline. And they expressed thanks for the prep. In fact, I even met a person that got hired with UPS and happened to be down in training. And this person had used my videos and had written to me. And I actually met him when he went through training for UPS as I was going through UPS as an instructor for my instructor training there. So again, we're introducing the Patreon membership levels. The training course will be called the FTDPCFS 747 training. Of course, we like acronyms. And that stands for Flight Training Device, personal computer flight simulation. And this type of airline training is usually accomplished prior to full flight training when you go to a airline or a manufacturer campus or school. Generally, it's accomplished in a device that has no motion and no visual. This is kind of what we mean by a flight training device, or sometimes this is called a flat panel trainer. This is the new type of device that we train in prior to full flight simulator training. In years past, it used to be a fixed base simulator, and that was a simulator that had no motion, no visual. It was exactly the same as a full flight simulator. It just didn't have the hydraulic legs, and it didn't have the visual system wrapped around it. Otherwise, it was exactly like a normal full flight simulator, and they would be built like that. Some would actually be able to become full flight simulators if you stuck on the legs and stuck on the visual. Others were simply in a room, but they were very much physically the same as the airplane. All the physical equipment was there. But now, of course, with the advent of as computers increased technology, as technology increased, and the computers became more sophisticated in terms of networking, then they got the idea to, the bean counters primarily, got the idea to that it's cheaper to network some PCs together and have touch screens and have software-driven trainers that could teach procedures and or systems, and so they called this the FTD, or flight training device. You'll notice this particular one is for the 747, and you'll also notice that it's a combination of screens and also physical equipment. So you can see the mode control panel is physical, the thrust quadrant is physical, so your speed brake lever and thrust levers and reverse thrust levers and fuel control switches and flap handle and alternate trim and all that stuff is physically the same as the airplane. But you'll see that the overhead panel and the forward instrument panel and the center pedestal, all that is screen driven through software, through a network of PCs that are linked together. Of course, in order for us to accomplish this FTD course, we don't have that, but we do have the next best thing, and that is some of the flight simulation that is out there on the 747-400 and 747-8. And some of it is very, very accurate. Some models are less accurate than others, but most of it is pretty accurate in normal operation. And so that's what we're going to be dealing with in our course, is a normal displays via the simulation that the manufacturers of this software give us. FTD training elements include normal procedures, flight deck preparation, checklist usage, normal takeoffs, auto flight practice, FMS navigation practice, approach preparation, doing precision approaches, non-precision approaches, missed approaches, and then getting into non-normal procedures, use of the QRH in those non-normal procedures, specific flight profiles, sometimes system integration training is used for it, and we're going to be doing all of these things, with maybe the exception of systems integration. But and we will be using Boeing procedures in this course. There's a lot of different procedures we could use, but Boeing, everything is an offshoot of Boeing in this airplane. Some airlines are closer to Boeing than other airlines. Some airlines are far away from Boeing, but everybody kind of starts with Boeing, and that's usually the course that people go with at first, and then they expand upon it as their airline culture and philosophy dictates. But most people, when they get the airplane, it's brand new, and they go through a Boeing course, and they're checked out by Boeing, and then they decide how they're going to apply those Boeing procedures to their specific airline, being senior people in the training department and things like that. So the FDD PCFS training is really designed for it's actually considered part of the ground school. And then when you're complete that training, normally you go into the full flight simulator. And of course, what we're going to do is provide that training to those that are interested in taking that training. There'll be lessons FTD PC FS1 through 10, and those lessons will be on the 747-400. And then there'll be lessons FTD PC DF11 and DF12, which will be differences, and the differences will be the 747-8 differences. And this is how a lot of people go through training. They'll get their base in the 747, and then they'll take differences training in for the 747-8. That can be done in the ground training device. So we're doing something very similar. That'll be 12 lessons total over a 6-month time frame. There'll be 4 lessons per month. One lesson will be a briefing prior to the actual virtual simulator session. And then the next lesson will be the actual virtual simulator session. So there'll be one brief, one virtual simulator session, and then one brief and one virtual simulator session per month, or 4 sessions total, split up every week. PSX simulation. And that has both the legacy and the next generation FMC. We'll start out with the legacy, and then as we continue in the course, we'll change to the next generation FMC and show some of the differences there. Any modeled 747 can be used to accomplish and practice the tasks. It doesn't have to be these models. These just happen to be the models that I have. But there's other models that you may want to use that would be like, the FS 2000 Microsoft. As long as it's a model that somewhat accurately replicates the 747, you can use that model to practice and accomplish the same tasks that I'm demonstrating as we go through the course. You may not be able to do everything depending on the model, but you should be able to do most tasks. The Aeroinx is the most accurate model that I've found in both normal and non-normal operations. It's also the most expensive one at about $300+. The other ones are around the $100 mark or $135 mark. But then usually you have to combine that model with a platform like FSX or Prepare 3D. So they kind of come close to the cost of the Aeroinx. But the Aeroinx is the more serious platform for the more serious user. So again, the monthly video training periods will be a lesson briefing of 1 to 1.5 hours. With interaction, it might be a little more. And that would be, let's say, week 1 of month 1. The FTD device time would be 2 to 2.5 hours. And that would be week 2. And again, that could be a little longer depending on interaction. And then we would repeat weeks 3 and 4 for that month with a new lesson. And again, that comprises the 2 lessons per month. The day and time of the week are to be decided for the live stream or the jet stream. I'm thinking of Sundays in the late afternoon, and I'm thinking of Friday, probably late morning, but that's still TBD, to be decided. So the 3 levels of Patreon membership are the first officer, or FO, the cruise captain, CC, and the full captain, CA. If you're not familiar with what a cruise captain is, it's basically a first officer that is allowed to sit in the left seat during cruise flight when the captain goes back and rests in the bunk. As you know, the 747 is a long-haul aircraft, so you have times when you have to rest, and that includes the captain. And so you might have, for example, a double crew, or you might have a 3-pilot crew consisting of a captain and 2 first officers, and those 2 first officers may be designated as cruise captains. And that way the captain can go back. One of the first officers will occupy the left seat while the captain is off of the flight deck. And so those are the three categories of Patreon membership. Repeating, it's a 6-month period of training, 2 times per year. You can attend the live stream again without Patreon membership. Again, it's totally optional, and there's no commitment other than a monthly cost of the Patreon membership. Let's look at what's involved in the first officer line of training. The FO line of training includes the FTD PC FS full live stream or jet stream course of the 747-400 and the 747-8. Now again, that is free if you don't want the additional perks that come with the level of Patreon membership. So some of those perks for the first officer would be recorded jet streams. So the live stream will be recorded, so if you can't make it at the appropriate live time, you can always view a recording of it at a later time. There's also a Discord channel in Discord that is used to allow the first officers to communicate with each other and myself. And there's other channels as well, but there is an exclusive one to the first officer. And at the completion, if you complete all 6 months, you'll get a first officer certificate of completion. It's a silver digital certificate of completion when you finish. There also is an SSFD or Subsonic Flight Training SOC, which is System Operational Control Discord chat room. And that chat room is going to be the hub for getting the course materials and things like that. Now you notice the first officer level does not include any of the course materials. This is the certificate you'd receive with your name on it, date, and my signature. And again, that's the silver level of certificate of completion. The cruise captain level of training or line of training consists of everything in the first officer level, plus it concludes all the digital course training materials and handouts. And that's going to be an advantage to have, because I'm not going to go back through all the materials that we have in order to see where we are as we do the lesson, because I'd have to be switching back and forth between the video and you're going to find that when I'm going through a procedure, I may not show the QRH procedure, but you'll have the manuals for that, and I'll point out where those manuals and exclusive training materials are. There's also an exclusive channel in Discord for the cruise captain, and the cruise captain will obtain a gold digital certificate of completion as long as you complete all 6 months in attendance. This is an example of the Discord. For those of you who aren't familiar with what Discord is, there are servers in Discord, and Subsonic Flight Training will have its own server. And then within that server, there's channels. You'll see here there's a course materials channel and a full captain access channel, cruise captain channel, first officer channel. Those are the exclusive channels for those people. There's hangar talk, that's for everybody. Autopilot, flight instrument, FMS, or systems talk, that's for everybody. Full captain recordings would be just for the captains. Recorded jet streams would be just for the cruise captains and the full captains. And then there's a little thing here for aviation news, space videos I took out. And there's a place for student videos for the homework assignments, if you choose to participate in the student videos. That's completely optional, as you'll learn. So here are some of the digital training materials and handouts you get at the cruise captain level of training. And these materials are included for all the following FTD PCFS and the differences training, which is differences 11 and 12. So all 12 periods will include materials that will include the lesson overview and the lesson objectives, flight plan, performance, weather, and clearance information for that particular lesson, a lesson event flight sequence, what we're doing on that particular lesson, how that lesson falls on the chart, where we're going from point A to point B, and where the various learning events take place along that timeline or that route, and then an optional review and homework assignment if you choose to do that. Again, it's completely optional. Here's an example of the lesson objectives, not the lesson overview. There would be another sheet for the lesson overview, but this happens to be one for the lesson objectives that will list what we're doing on that particular lesson and what the main objectives are for that particular lesson. Here's an example of the route or your flight plan. In the absence of a real flight plan, this is your flight plan for the lesson. And it includes route information, performance information, weather information, and clearance information for each lesson. And then, of course, there's a lesson event flight sequence, and this is what we're doing and the order that we're doing it in as we flow through the lesson. And then there'll be a lesson event chart sequence of events that will go from point A to point B. And then we'll have numbered events of where the lesson events take place, so that it's a very structured learning experience. And again, you'll be able to, the only difference here is you're not sitting in front of me as students and in the seat. So you're kind of seeing me do it and talk about it and teach it. But then the idea is that you can go replicate it and do the exercise yourself and fly the exercise yourself. And that's the best thing we can do, since we obviously can't be together in the same room with you in the seat as a captain or a first officer and you doing the specific things that are called for, and then me critiquing you, teaching you, so forth and so on. There's also going to be an optional review and homework assignment, so you could take that homework assignment before you do the lesson, and you could look up the various items that we're going to be doing in that particular lesson. And then there's a homework assignment as well. The homework assignment would be completely optional, but if you choose to, you could use any software, 747 software of your choosing. You could keep the video as long as you want, but generally about 10 to 15 minutes. But again, there's no limit on that. And then you could provide a link to a private or unlisted YouTube video where other students and or myself can view part of the homework assignment or all of the homework assignment. Again, that's up to you. You don't have to complete all the homework assignment if you don't choose to. You can complete all of it if you want to. You don't have to do it at all if you don't want to. So the homework is optional. What is required to get the certificate of completion would be the actual attendance for all lessons for all months. But the homework is optional. But I encourage you to do it because you're going to get more out of it if you actually do the lesson and then provide some proof that you did the lesson in either partial or complete homework assignment. But that's up to you. And then you get a certificate of completion at the cruise captain level. That's a gold level certificate, which will have your name and the date and my signature. Again, all of these levels of training, to repeat, do have the FTD PCFS live stream or jet stream service for both airplanes, 400 and Dash 8. Mainly the 400 and the differences for the Dash 8. Again, the full course is 6 months, 4 lessons per month, which encompass really 2 periods for a total of 12 periods over those 6 months. Again, it's a briefing 1 week, then you can prepare because you have time. Simulator period the next week, briefing the next week, And then, again, you can prepare and then simulator the next week. Again, we say we're going to probably do Sundays and Fridays, but that's to be determined. I'm thinking one weekday and one weekend day would be the best for people attempting to attend a live stream. If you can't make it, again, they are recorded for people that are Patreon members. Again, the lesson brief, 1 to 1.5 hours, could be longer with interaction. And the actual profile is designed for 2 hours, but some of those lessons can take 2.5 hours easy if you take your time. And again, interaction may be a little bit more. The full captain line of training includes everything in the first officer and the cruise captain line of training. Plus, there'll be a bonus recorded session for non-normals and aircraft systems in one of those areas, either non-normals or aircraft systems. You also have an exclusive channel in Discord, and the full captain certificate of completion is given out if you attend all 6 months of training. And if you've done the homework assignments, either, again, partially or completely, you'll get a demonstrated level of competency and proficiency on your graduation or your certificate of completion. You also will get a 747 study course materials that will consist of a 747 digital study guide brochure, a 747 scan flow patterns, and a 747 system question bank and answers that are 200 questions on the 747 systems. So not only the question bank, but the answers to those questions. This is the digital study guide brochure that you'll be provided digital files for. You can print these out in cardstock or paper or, whatever you want. And then you can put these together. You can bind them together, binding of your choice, whether it be staples or tape or whatever. And it'll come out something like this. When it's completely folded out, it would look like this. And I'll be explaining more on that. There's a front side and a back side. And this folds up to where it's simply looks like a pamphlet or a book. And then it opens up completely to this, what you see here. The captain level also gets the flow patterns in the form of block diagrams, if you will. They happen to be the 747-8 flows, but they're just about the same for the 400 as they are for the -8. And then the captain differs from the cruise captain in that you get a bonus recorded session, 1 per month. And it'll be on one of these areas, non-normal procedures or aircraft systems. The aircraft systems you'll be provided with a digital system schematic handouts, digital panel and switch descriptions. And these systems that could be covered are things like electrical, hydraulic, fuel, air conditioning, pneumatics, flight controls, IRS, communications, ice and rain, or fire protection, an example of some of the systems that could be covered. And then non-normals, such as engine start, non-normal procedures, electrical non-normal procedures, cabin altitude rapid descent. Actually, that's covered in the FTD portion. Multiple engine failure, onboard fire non-normal procedures. That's actually partly covered in the FTD PC as well. Fuselage fire non-normal procedures, FMC non-normal procedures. That happens to be covered in the FTD course. Flight control non-normal procedures, evacuation non-normal procedures, landing gear, pneumatic, or unreliable airspeed disagree. So any of these could be utilized in the captain additional videos. And again, one of these things will pick either systems or non-normals in order to provide the full captains with a bonus recorded video, 1 per month. And the captain will receive a gold level of certificate of completion if you attend all 6 months. And again, if you want the demonstrated competency, you would have to complete some or all of the homework assignments. That wouldn't be optional in that case if you want the statement on there. If you don't, you wouldn't have to do the homework assignments. So with this course, what price would you pay for this training? I had to think about that a little bit because I thought, well, normally we charge thousands of dollars for this type of training, and people pay for it in terms of if you're going for a type rating, or the airline pays for it. But obviously, you're not in front of me, and you're not sitting in the seat and actually doing the training and actually being evaluated to continue on to do full flight training. So obviously, that's going to reduce the cost a lot. And so I thought, well, what type of pricing should I have? And I went through a lot in terms of deciding what the price point would be. But then what I decided on was I decided to make everything at $10 or less per month. So the first officer is $3 per month for 6 months, again, if you choose to stay for 6 months. The cruise captain will be $8 per month for 6 months. And the full captain will be $10 per month for 6 months. And of course, that's in cooperation under the guidelines of Patreon memberships. I actually don't get that much, so they take a cut of that. And then note, all 6 months attendance is required to get the certificate of completion. There's no commitment other than monthly, and you can stop at any time. You can cancel at any time, or you can continue your membership beyond 6 months if you choose to. But it's meant to be a 6-month course, and then it ends basically, and then I start another one. So the idea is that I'll do 2 of these a year for those that are interested, and again, I tried to keep it very reasonable in terms of cost, and so I wanted to keep it either at $10 or under $10, and I think that's a pretty good bargain for the training that you're receiving. So again, this is the same type of training you would receive if you went through a flight training device, or FTD, prior to your full flight simulator training. So a real FTD is a device, again, that has no visual, no motion. The FTD serves as a procedures trainer to learn the skills and become proficient to enter full flight simulator training. Because we don't want to be in the full flight simulator training and then, when it comes to the before start flow, the pilot candidate has no idea of how to do the before start flow. Or if you're given a present position direct to ABC, or turn right heading 220 to intercept the 300 radial of XYZ and track it inbound, but we don't want to have to sit there and teach that in a full flight simulator that's costing thousands of dollars. So generally, the FTD is that preparation. It's part of the ground school. Usually you do computer-based training along with the FTD, and then, of course, your oral and things like that with the FAA, or an FAA examiner, of which I was. And again, these skills are desired and required to go into the full flight simulator. But we obviously aren't going to do that. But you can enjoy the same level of training, and mainly, again, for gaming enjoyment. We're doing this so that you can kind of get the max value out of your entertainment and out of your simulation experience. Again, some people take this very seriously, which is why I'm offering this particular training. So now, as a member of the PC Online Flight Simulator community, you can receive the same type of training as airline pilots receive. And you can receive it at a small fraction of the cost. Again, this training does run into the thousands of dollars, even for the airline or for the individual, depending if you're paying for a type rating. During the live stream of the jet stream, the training will be interactive via live chat. If you want to get noticed quickly and get your question answered with priority, you can use Super Chat. And again, that's usually kind of like a tip kind of thing, where you could tip the person that you're in the training or whatever you're doing whatever amount you choose to, $1, $2, $5. I've been on a lot of sites where I've seen these things really get going. I don't expect that here because I don't think I'm going to have that many people, to tell you the truth. But the price of Patreon membership is intentionally kept low so that if you like the training, you could support the channel, and you can optionally choose to support in any amount via super chats. So that's up to you, and that's optional. You can ask a question without providing tip money, but it's there if you like the training. So again, the FO, $3 a month, Cruise Captain, $8 a month, Full Captain, $10 a month. And then when you join, that will allow you access to the Discord, and most of the materials you will find in the Discord platform in order to get the materials, course materials, and things like that. So you can come join me and train with me on the FTD-PC FS 6-month training program for the 747-400 and 747-8. Look for the join button and look for the Patreon. I'll have that link as we go, as it becomes available. The Patreon is going to launch on December 1st, 2022, so you can join then. And the course launch itself begins January 2023. So you can look for an announcement on date and time of the course orientation and the pre-training live stream or jet stream launching December 1st. So there'll be some orientation, if you will, some pre-training stuff, if you will, in December. And so December is the time to join Patreon and in preparation for the course start in January of 2023. And there we'll be going over manuals and course materials and the Discord channel and what's available to you on that channel. So with that, thank you for attending this discussion of the FTD PC FS training, and I hope to see you in the Patreon membership in December. Captain Al, out. Okay, so that's the presentation on the FTD PC FS training. There is one clarification I want to make, and that is the B747. I mentioned that the B747-8 for the full captain has flow patterns, but actually there are flow patterns for the B747-400 as well. I just forgot that I had made one up a while ago for that airplane as well. So it's not just the 747-8, it's also for the 747-400 in terms of the block diagram flow patterns. And actually they're very, very similar in many cases, but there are two different files, if you will, one for the 747-400 and one for the 747-8. So with that, if there's any questions, I can take the questions at this time. And if not, we're going to let you go about your day. Whoever is still in here. Any questions? Going once, going twice. Okay, no questions. Okay, I'd like to thank you for attending today, for whoever is still left in the room, and we will have another one of these live stream announcements next week, same time. And then in December, I'll probably be opening the Patreon room the last week of November, but then so that people can join in December. And then there will be an orientation sessions, probably 2 in December, for the getting ready for the course start in January. So thank you for attending today, and Captain Al, out. if you do have any questions, I'll be here for another 5 minutes or so, 5 or 10 minutes. So if you have any questions and you think of them, just put them in the chat. Thanks, bye.